Yeah, well, good morning. Before we start this, I'd like to say thanks, Carrie, Catherine, and Tanya for joining us on Confer Zoom. Before we go into the program learning outcome mapping, we would like for Lisa to touch up on Illumin for us, because I think she has to
She
has to run up real quick. So.
Okay. So, Carrie Freeman. Hello.
I can probably stand in the corner.
Good?
Yes.
Good, okay. So Illumin, I don't know adjunct faculty besides Carrie, right?
Yes, I think the rest of adjunct faculty.
Okay, I don't know how much you all know about Illumin, so I'll give a little bit of a background, but I know Vince and Jennifer are aware already. Illumin is a software product that we are moving into. Purchased probably 2 years ago now, but we put it on hold, the implementation on hold, because of all the curriculum reset that everybody's been working on. So we are now going back into that and slowly building the software out so that the faculty can use it for curriculum review, curriculum approval processes, outcomes assessment, program review. I mean, like, this thing does it all, but we're baby stepping into it basically. So where we are right now is, originally and ideally when you implement the software, you are supposed to, like we used CurricuNet prior to, we should have been able to download the curriculum from CurricuNet and upload it into Illumin, but because CurricuNet wasn't clean, we decided the best way to do that would be to do it by hand. So the curriculum specialist, the data steward, who have now switched roles. Originally when we got Illumin, Jessica Tanatongo, who is the curriculum specialist now, was our data steward because she worked in the research office with me. So she is now the curriculum specialist, a new role in Illumin for her. Kiri Burrell, who is now our research specialist in my office, is now the data steward. So they've switched, but they're both working on implementation together. So the courses are now almost all the way in, and then the programs will start coming in, but both are supposed to be into Illumin by November 18th. That's our target deadline. We're setting up meetings with our curriculum chairs, Eduardo and Melissa, to work on the curriculum flow. So whatever the processes that have been over the last year that have been built into the curriculum approval process, that will be moved from a paper process into the software. So they'll be mirrored into the software, so that all of what you guys just went through this last year can be done electronically. So that's the goal there. We are also setting up meetings for Penny and Joseph to talk about this assessment piece. So whatever you guys do on your mapping that you're doing this week and over the next couple of weeks, those paper products that you come out with are going to come to our office, and we'll be putting those in electronically. Eventually, all this paper creation will be done away with. Everything, even the mapping, will be done electronically by you guys in Illumin. So that's what's coming up next. After that, so you'll have courses, programs, mapping, and then we'll move on to the actual assessment piece. So that's where you guys will go in there. You'll create your rubrics inside of Illumin. You'll do your assessments inside of Illumin. Illumin will connect with Banner, which will bring in the student data, so we can look at equity measures based on your assessments. Next will be program review. From there we can do maybe some strategic planning. But that's where we are right now. So hopefully the idea is when you guys start assessing in spring, Illumin will be ready for you. So look for training. If there's any emails that come out where you can do, we're going to be setting up training for faculty in late spring, because we don't want to do it right at the beginning of the semester, because that's a crazy time. But if you guys you should see emails out for an invitation for training sessions, so participate. We'll try to do those through Zoom also, so that for the adjunct that can't be here, or anybody else that can't be here, can join us. So, any questions from this huge audience? Questions online? No? She's like, yes, but they're muted. You've muted me. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
And I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm just going to add,
For-
when you adjuncts, my understanding is that once we finally get everything, this is all a bunch of little steps, everything, including our assessment cycle and our rubrics into Lumen, then you would be notified this semester you will be expected to assess this class, but you have advance notice, and that information goes directly, instead of sending it on a piece of paper to a person where we hope it gets looked at and put in the cycle, it goes directly into place, we can do a report.
Yes.
So eventually, this all touches people by saying, assess this class in this semester using this rubric,
Yes.
which the department should be agreeing on beforehand.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hold on, I'm still going, okay. If you are attending online, you may not have this, but you'll be sent a copy of this. It is a blue handout. It's called Course to Program Learning Outcomes Mapping. And Joseph's been really good about keeping track of everyone who's here, and we make sure we send these to people after the training so they can get started. But if you are here with a blue form, you'll see that on the first side it talks about why you should do program mapping. It's, yes, of course, all these outcomes we're talking about, but it's also good for your program. You learn things that you didn't even know about your program. Our pilot group has already discovered quite a few interesting things. Like they have SLOs that don't match PLOs, or PLOs that have no SLO that helps them measure it. Because we built them separately. We built them at different times, different places, and never really bothered to really try to connect them. Some places I know have a really good structure, and I'll tell you, English thought we had a good structure because we're like, you write and you research, you write and you research, how hard can it be? But we still had trouble, and I know other people, I think kinesiology had created all their SLOs as following a thing in certain areas, so they really will have a much better time mapping. But so it's going to ask you to go through, look at it, while mapping to the course to program SLO, program PLOs, program learning outcomes. Really only has to be the courses that are in your program, and a program is defined as a degree, certificate, degree and certificate.
Yeah.
That's it. ADT.
ADT specifically,
Yeah.
local degree, which is going to be something a lot of people are going to be joining in if they don't have an ADT they're working on, because our local degrees are massive. But if you have a degree or certificate, if you're an adjunct, you may only be asked to look at it. If you were teaching, like the only adjunct who teaches a class, you might be asked to actually, even though the full-timer would try to do this, because I mean, you know, they're like, I know the course is supposed to work, even if I've never taught it, they will try to map it out for you or work with you. But if it's a course only you teach or very few people teach, you might be asked to help with this. And it is pretty simple. You look at your SLO. Joseph's going to show that form in a minute. You look at your SLO, you look at the PLO, and you say, does one get me to the other one? You know, really. But when you're looking at this, some of the things our pilot group found out was, like I said, we have PLOs that don't match our SLOs. We have courses that we treat as our proficient courses that have no way for people to get there. So we have introductory, development, and proficient, and people can jump in at a course at proficient with no prerequisite at all. And it's like, wait a minute, that feels weird. So it doesn't mean these areas are going to make huge changes. It means they're going to stop and look at how they got to where their PLOs get mapped to, and they're going to figure that out and have a good conversation. Some of the conversation yesterday was, do we have to do every course in the program? No. On the sample, English did every course because we only have 4 courses that don't match, and 2 of them, one's a gateway and one is going to be on there. So for us, it was more of a, let's see what happens, does everything match? So it was a kind of an informational for our program, and it goes to the mapping. So for us, it did 2 things. The other samples, I think biology and child that we're giving out, stayed very focused on what goes in my degree, and I'm only doing those things, and everything else I'm just kicking out, not looking at. And that's really more appropriate for where this is going to go in the end. But I recommend if you have a lot of electives or just a few electives, you might want to look and see, do these things map out? But if you have 100 electives, yeah, you're not going to do that. That's crazy. No one wants to do that. On the flip side will be with pictures on how to do it, which Joseph's going to talk a little bit about the filling in the white blank. paper. Before we do anything else, Joseph was really good about doing this yesterday, and again, you're gonna see this on the screen, but he's also gonna make sure, we will make sure it gets out to you. And it is, we already know we're gonna make a couple changes to it, because people have asked that one of the status columns, where right now it says core, elective, or other, we're going to add core gateway and core capstone, because some courses, some programs actually have those. And if you do have the fortunate opportunity to be in a program that has a core capstone, this just became the easiest thing in the world for you to do. You know, not even this step, every step in the future is super easy. But that is not the most common result. So, Joseph, you want to try and do the, you want to talk about that first?
Well, before that, yes. So, and again, just to let you guys know, we send out these materials, electronic copies, so you guys will have access to everything that you guys are seeing here today. So on the other form, on the other side of the blue form, it just gives you direction on how to fill out the template for the SLO to the PLO mapping. But before we go into that, I'd like to stress, because we usually forget, stress the fact that while we're doing this process of SLO to PLO, we want to make sure we use the new cores that we just worked on. And if you guys are wondering what that was, last year we had the curriculum of record reset. It was like a whole hoopla of new paperwork, trying to rewrite all our courses on a new template. So if you were part of that process, that's what I'm talking about. That core that you just did for your course that you had to submit, that went through curriculum, went through tech review, went through curriculum, and went through the process of being approved by the Board of Trustees. So for you to be able to map your SLOs to your PLOs, you would need those forms because they contain the newest, they contain the new content, the updated contents for your courses. So that's what I'm going through to give you guys a little on how to get to those. On how to get to your course, which is the recent course that was approved through the Board of Trustees. So the first thing you want to do is you go to the Barstow College website. When you get to the website, you see at the very top hand corner that search box, the one that says Google Custom Search. You go in there and you just type in curriculum. Type curriculum in there, hit the search, the little hourglass or spyglass, you hit it, and it will pull up the search page. So on the search page, you go up. So the search page, you will have options on which to click. The very first option, the one that says curriculum, that's what you click on. So after clicking on curriculum, it will bring you to the curriculum webpage of the Barstow Community College website. And once you get to that page, you scroll down and you look for final course link. So if you scroll down a little bit, it'll be the very first link on this page that has final course. So when you click on it, it'll take you to a OneDrive web page where we have all the cores, all the bot approved cores that went through the reset and still in process, going through tech review and curriculum process. Then it goes through the bot. Now, I believe all the courses that I've gone through, you should be able to find them there, all of their courses. Now, they're still trying to get the programs and the certificates updated. I don't know how far they've gone with that, but for the most part, your courses should be on there. So when you go to your course, click on it, you pull it up, you download it however you want it, you'll be able to find the SLOs for your course. And if you already have a program for whatever ADT, local degree, be it certificate of achievement, that's where you would get your PLOs from, which is your program learning outcomes. And so after you're able to pull those two documents up, then that's when you start working on mapping your SLO to your PLO. That Excel?
Yep. Let me find my mouse again. This one?
Yes, we can use this one. So this is a sample. So now the sample that we're showing is for English ADT. The good thing about this sample is it brought out a lot of deficiencies that we're having while mapping our SLOs to PLOs. So this form, it looks almost identical as the one you received, which will be the blank form, and that will be where you map your SLOs and your PLOs. So if you can go to the blank one, please. So on the blank template that you will receive.
That one?
Yes. So on the blank template that you will receive, as you guys can see, the columns, they're separated in the way where you can follow through with filling out your course and your PLO. Then at the very top, you get your degree program name, and in this case, let's again use English as an example. So up there, you will put your English ADT. If it's a local degree, you just put it Associate of Science or AA or AS in English, whichever one. Then your mission statement. Now, you have to be careful about your mission statement. Your mission statement, you will.
I have a quick announcement and letting you guys know about something.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you know how you guys have this right here where you guys go and see the final course? Temporarily, they're currently not there. It's odd because yesterday we checked and the link was somehow editable and it's not supposed to be, so I was changing the cores in real time. So they were pulled, so we could make sure that that is not editable and you guys can just like copy and paste without changing stuff. And it will be back shortly.
Oh, okay.
So Jessica Tanya was the one to know, but
reach out to me.
when to if it's not okay. And then I think she could do share link with like just view. So all right, sorry guys.
Well, breaking news.
You were there.
Breaking news. President Trump just landed at Barstow College. But no, really. So we just got news about. If you guys can remember, I went over the final how to get to the final course. Go through the college website, search for curriculum, and go for final course where you're able to access your course, updated course. Now we just got news that I think somebody hacked us. So,
We hacked ourselves.
Yeah. So looks like for right now that link is disabled. So if you need to get to your course or your curriculum of records or your programs, reach out to Jessica Tango.
Reach out to us for now.
Oh, you can reach out to
and we'll
us.
forward your request.
Yes, so you can reach out to myself or Penny. I sent out an email that, telling you guys about this training. We have our emails is slated in there for you guys. So you guys can send us email if you guys have any message. Any questions. So like I was saying, so for your certificate mission, which is also, if it's a program you have, which is the degree, same thing as a degree, certificate, that falls under the purview of a program. It should be under your program form that you submitted.
Last program review.
Yes, for your program review, for the last program review, and that's where you get your certificate or program mission statement from. And all you do is go ahead and just copy and click and paste into the spot where it says the cell where it shows you to insert. So I've gone over the program name, you put the program name, your certificate, mission statement, you insert that in there. Now, if you come to the very first column, where it shows you the course status, program core, elective, or other. Now, depending on the program you're offering, or depending on how your program is highlighted, you get to put in your core programs. If you can go back, please, Glenn, to the other English ADT. As you guys can see, for the English ADT, now they have their first two as other, and the reason why it's other is because
Let me explain that one, because a lot of people are saying, why do I even have to do the others? You don't, in most cases. English, our other is a prerequisite for every other class. So if we don't know that that class is introducing those things, how can we know they're prepared for the core classes? So we did that, but it is not something most people will need unless you know it's a core class, or maybe it's one of the guided pathway classes that you're really pushing people into. You might want to do it, but it is not required because it's usually an option. But this is not an option in our degree. Even though it's not even listed on our degree, you can't take our degree without this class. So
yeah.
for us, it makes sense.
Yes.
It may not make sense for anyone else.
Yeah, no, like she said, for English department that makes sense. For other programs, it probably might not. So other discipline, it might be just a straightforward. It might be for most of your programs, you might have to put in your core programs. Now, as far as elective goes, now it depends. As you were saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
English also is a unique animal in the fact that our electives are our highest level literature. So you can take two of any three that are listed now, there's going to be 5. So they can take any of those, but they're our highest level. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to not indicate them because this is where you learn to go. But because they're an elective, it's a really unusual circumstance. So we're going to have an exciting idea in figuring out how to assess our higher level courses, which are electives, which is not true for most classes, most programs.
Oh, okay. So again, for the most part, if you have an ADT, so you might come across problems like this because, again, for the most part, of course, the core courses have to be taken regardless for you to attain that program or whatever that degree is. Now, the elective, again, it depends on you as the faculty if you feel that it is important. Now, some elective might not even be under your discipline. Every now and then you have that little like business, for business degree, which I guess it entails accounting, it entails some CBIS courses, and also entails, I believe, econ. And Ms. Pasley, who's our full-time business, she doesn't teach most of those courses, but she'll have to find a way to get that data from whoever it is. Now, for example, econ, she'll probably have to reach out to Ramon Vasconcelos to get that information to fill in. So you guys will also have that type of
May have that.
or may, yeah, you guys may come across that type of problem where you have a course that's under your degree, but you don't teach that. So again, those are courses you can post to myself, Ms. Shreve, and we also have some other committee members for the OAC committee members as well. Well, with time, hopefully you guys get to meet them. You know? So after filling in that, you put in the course, then you move on to the SLOs. And again, like I said, you get your SLOs from your core, which is the new ones that you guys just went through doing the last time. Once you fill that in, so for most of the courses, we have 4 SLOs.
3, sometimes 4.
3, sometimes 4. Again, depending, if you have 4, all you have to do is just paste a new row in there and throw in your 4th SLO. The reason why we have 3, like this one has 2, this one has 3, I think most of them do have 3 SLOs.
Yeah, we left the form with 3 because most have 3, English, a lot of ours are only 2, so to be sure that the committee knows we didn't just blow them off, we put in, we don't have that. But most courses will have 3 and a few could have 4.
Yes, so if you have 4, again, just go ahead and throw in another roll in there and add your SL. Now, if you have 2, then you can just go ahead and do it this way. When it comes to the third, just put NA, meaning it doesn't it's not applicable to you. So while you have the SLOs on the very top where it says SLO next to the description, I'm sorry, where it shows you PLO1, PLO2, 3 and 4, that's where you copy and paste the PLOs that's, correlates to your program. And now, again, you have to remember you want to use the very latest form because a lot of faculty, they still have the old forms that they use to copy into the new forms that they use. And some of them end up using those old forms. So you want to make sure you get the recent copy of your SLOs and your PLOs, which is from the last reason. And again, if you have questions about that, you can reach out to myself, Penny,
Or the curriculum co-chairs.
all the curriculum co-chairs. But if you guys don't know them, you guys can reach out to us and we'll direct you guys to the right party. And so while doing your mapping, all you're doing is, again, for example, for English 1A, the first SLO, which tells you read and analyze a college level article or essay, compose essay in response that goes beyond standard 5-paragraph essay, incorporate research into essays using, that's the second one. I'm talking about the first one. So as you guys can see, for the very first SLO to the first PLO, understand the relationship between purpose and audience in
Tests.
tests. So as you guys can see, that SLO maps to that very first PLO, and it is a level, your introduction level. And that's another thing that Penny will probably have to touch on. So we have the introductory level, we have the developmental level, and we have proficiency level. So depending on the level that your PLO maps to your SLO, that's what you put in there. So as you guys can see now, for the second SLO, which states incorporate research into essays using MLA Doc, as you guys can see, it doesn't map to the first PLO. Now, it maps to the second PLO, but the fourth and third, it doesn't map to. So again, those are cases you guys will come across where it probably your SLO maps to maybe 1 or 2 PLOs, and that's okay. That could happen. It can map to all 3 PLOs. Now, it's a problem if an SLO doesn't map to any PLO. So now that's where you know you have a disconnect. And that's what we are finding now that, hey, we have all this PLO written up and the SLOs, and we're finding out that some SLOs don't map to the PLOs. And like Penny was saying, the reason why that is because when we developed these courses and we developed our programs, it was done separately. So there was no connect. So this is the connection that connects your program to your courses, your student learning outcomes to your parent learning outcomes. So which is why this is so important. And I believe that would be one of the things we'll also have to incorporate while you're building your course and your program. You want to make sure you have a connection before you even start going about giving students.
Mike, can you put biology up, please? English, of course, I love because, English. Who doesn't love English? But it is one of the ones we found, oh my gosh, we found so many problems, and we think everyone's going to run into difficulties. And we just say, that's okay, there's nothing wrong with it, it's just part of the process, because not sure we made this clear. One of the reasons we have to do this now, it feels like, well, why don't we just wait till spring? It just seems like we could just train and start all this, because we had to do an ACCJC midterm report, and when we did our last accreditation, they said, yeah, we're going to give you a pass, but we see that you guys have a strong weakness of not assessing your programs. We had program reviews where people would say comments, but a lot of the comments were, yeah, we didn't do that this semester. Yeah, and it would be the same thing. Oh, it doesn't match the SLOs. It does, there'd be, for whatever reason, there'd be a reason why we couldn't do it. And they noticed that, and they said, well, we see you have a process, it's just not working. So we said in our midterm report that there would be progress in PLO assessment in spring, and we have to write a follow-up. No one knows if they're gonna come and visit, I don't think so, but they could. But they could definitely be asking for information proving that we have done progress. And progress just means things that we're doing now. We are creating the plan. We are creating where the problems are to fix. All that's progress. So if you find out that you're like, not a single one of my SLOs maps to a PLO, because the PLOs are written in 1990 with a typewriter, and I teach computers. I mean, something weird could happen. It's unlikely to be that off, but it could be a disconnect, and all you need to do is go, how do I show that I have done the first step to try to figure out how I will assess, then plan an assessment strategy, and then eventually do the assessment. So if by the time we do that progress in spring, it is none of my courses can be mapped, that's, your plan will be to make them map. You know, and that shows progress, because we can't go forward without, just, you can't say that every semester. We can only do it once.
And real quick, and again, what we're doing right now is also progress towards making sure we map our programs to our SLOs, because that was part of the recommendation. There wasn't a process in place to show that we are going through making faculty take, I guess, responsibility for this process. So, which is why we're putting this training together. So this will be one of, I guess, few more training that's on the way. So that's why we implore you guys to please try to show up whenever you guys get the notification or invitation to come for this training, because we have to show that we are in the right direction with helping faculty understand processes like this, which is, again, one of the accreditation process through accreditation.
I put in biology because it only has 4 courses for a certificate that's being worked on. It's not actually approved, so some people say, I think Ms. Murphy was here yesterday, said, I didn't even put my certificate in, but I'm going to have one. So she's going to be writing PLOs, you know, any day now, or she may already have them. So even if they aren't even submitted, she can map to what she assumes will be her PLOs when she's done. And then if she finds out the PLOs had to be changed when she puts them through curriculum, she would just adjust them afterwards. She can still go through the process, and what we hope in the future is that we start doing this before curriculum instead of finding out afterwards about the disconnect. So biology, they really only have, they have core, all their courses are cores. But here's the beauty of them that I wish everybody had the luck that they had. I should say good planning. They have biology 2A, and it's this does some introductory on some of these things. Can you scroll down a little bit, Mr. Glenn? Then we've got bio 4 and 5 up here, and they do development, because guess what? They follow bio 20A. Then they get down to the last one, which 4 and 5, I believe, are prerequisites for. So you get to bio 8, and you see that, wait, proficient. So even if they've never stated that this is it, clearly this is their capstone course for this certificate. So for them, even though they did the whole mapping to kind of see their program, this is what they're probably going to do when it comes to actually filling in for the program. So what it goes into Illumina with all these introductory development, all that stuff, but when it comes to finding the data to determine if your program has been successful, finding a capstone course means you really are saying all these students worked all this time to get here. And anyone who's doing this, if they're not doing your degree, then it's kind of crazy. I mean, like in English, our literature classes, no one's taking our literature classes unless they're going for an English degree. So we know those are our real people, not English 1A, what everyone has to take. Everyone has to take a biology 2, 2A. This one, they can probably have this beautiful thing that they will, in the end, saying, oh, our PLO assessment plan is to assess bio 8 for every program review cycle and determine how well our students are completing the final course of our certificate. So it's, if you were lucky enough to be like them, I hate you, but I'm glad for you. But most of us are not. Most of us have a lot of no prerequisites, no choose one of 17 options. And the more we have that, the harder it is to plan out. But in working with guided pathways, again, if you're an adjunct, a lot of it's going to be just knowing the vocabulary when you have communication with the college or you have communication with your full-timer, that when they talk about certain things, you kind of go, okay, I have an idea what you're asking, but you're probably going to still have to have them clarify. But at least it's not going to be like, you know, Latin, and like I don't even, if one of you knows Latin, I'm really jealous also, but most of us don't. So this is a really clean map of just the cores, and they were lucky enough to have this. It's not the norm usually, it's kind of a mix all the way down. So,
I think they're actually working on.
yes, this doesn't actually exist, the certificate, all the courses exist, but the certificate does not exist, but they have created it, they know what the PLOs are gonna be, so it also helps that while they're doing the building, they're able to look at this, so doing it at the same time is really awesome.
And again, just to add, so everything we're doing right now, Illumin should take care of when, you know, when we finally see it. And I mean, we've been waiting for it for like 2 years, like just how this, so we're hoping we get it soon. So, but
November 18th,
yeah, that's what. Yeah, that's
November
not the
18th,
That's
say
not
it.
the first time we've had. That's not the first time we've had a date, right, of when we will get Illumin. Yes. So let's keep our fingers crossed. So let's keep our fingers crossed. So the
November
process.
18th,
November 18th. So
no
the
negativity.
so the process we're doing right now is something after Illumin comes into play.
It'll go into Illumin.
It'll go, everything that you guys are seeing will go into Illumin, which makes it easier because it's an electronic software, which again will take care of most of this process that we're doing right now. But for us to get that in, we have to do this work. So basically, we're doing what Illumin is supposed to be doing. We're just doing it by hand.
Well, it would have to be done
Manual.
and told, someone has to tell Illumin what to put in, we're just having it done so that when they go to, that we're ready to put it into Illumin.
Illumin, we have all the data that they need to go into Illumin.
The other piece of this, which is a little part of the OAC, so you can take out the SLO, it's just OAC, committee, is the assessment cycle, but we're probably gonna be working pretty closely with guided pathways on that. Because it only makes sense if they're gonna guide the pathway, we need to know the pathway to create the cycle.
And I'm
So-
doing this.
When those cycles are created, these are when your course gets assessed. It's not gonna be 100% every semester, every time, it's gonna be when you're up for a cycle. Now, you could be lucky enough that Bio 8 is only up on every even spring. That means you teach even fall, you may never have to do an assessment. That's probably never gonna happen. We don't want that to be the case. We want everyone to have some data in there because that's how we get a robust report. But this will eventually lead into other things, so it's not all by itself and all of a sudden, ooh, I don't have to touch it again. It's related to a whole bunch of things, the assessment cycle, deciding which ones will actually, we do the map and then we decide which ones we're gonna use for the PLO. And then from there, we have to figure out where we're gonna get the data until Illumin's up. And then when Illumin says, Illumin report, there's our data. But it's gonna be a growth until then. So our progress time is gonna be a lot more paper than we would like. But after that, after we build it, it's gonna be a lot easier. Any questions? Before we move forward, we'll make sure we don't leave people in the dirt here.
Vince, you good?
Yeah, thumbs up, we're good.
Any questions from the Comfort Zoomers?
The Zoomers.
The Comfort Zoomers? Yes.
Do you want to talk about the child real quick?
Oh, yes. So now for the child,
Again,
Now, just so you're clear, these both are only on one certificate or one ADT. Child has 5 or 6.
child has 5, 6, because child has an ADT, a level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And do they still have a local or not?
No local.
Okay.
Yes, I don't remember any of those.
Yeah, a lot of different things.
Yes. So now for the child, and I don't know, for most of you guys, you know NANS. Now, the formatting of child, NANS again, for some reason, I think she got like a magic wand that whenever it comes up, and she has a wand and she just waves that wand and everything is, she was part of our pilot. And she was, yeah, all the samples we showing you guys as part of the pilot. So as you guys can see for Nance, again, I'll just use her format, how she formatted hers, and throw all her certificates. And if you go back up, Glenn.
Sure.
So if you guys can see the very first here, that very top where it shows you her certificate. So now the child ADT and the certificate level 2, they correlate, meaning the courses for her ADT is mostly correlated to her certificate level 2, which is why she has both of them on one template. Now, again, it's only few programs that probably have that type of distinction, and child is just one of those. And as you guys can see, she's able to, and it helps her so she don't have to do a whole template or a whole form for just the ADT, then go all the way down and start a new form for certificate level 2. So she was able to just combine both because, again, most of the courses are correlated with the program and the certificate that she's offering. Now, if you scroll down, and stop right there. Now, as you guys can see, she made it easy for herself. As you can see, she left. You can tell that the very first one, after child 49, those are the ones that completed the ADT and the certificate level 2. And she went ahead and just started anew with child certificate level 1. So this was when she did this, it was, again, it's a pilot program, and we're looking at it like, oh wow, she did so good, and she did a whole lot of work. I think she has like 5 of them on here. So what we spoke about yesterday, this might be a little confusing depending on when we want to start putting all this data on eLumen. So the best way to do it is you can separate by using different sheets. So the first sheet she could have used for the ADT and the certificate level 2 program. Then for this second sheet, then you can go ahead and throw your second. So if you have multiple programs or multiple certificates, that's the best way to do it. This way we know that each sheet is representative of a certain degree or a certain program or certificate that you have. That way it makes it easier for us so we're not confused. Having everything compacted in just one.
Some people are going to be saying, what's happening with this? When is it due? What happens next? The OAC committee is going to take all of these and review them, not as experts in the field, but more as experts in gridding and mapping, and look for discrepancies or areas that people might need assistance. Like, if I were to look at the English one and didn't know what they were doing, I'd go, why do you have so many electives? Why don't you just use a core? And, if they didn't have any proficiency or anything leading, we would notice those things. They probably noticed it when they did it. But it's like, our motion is to help them figure out how to get through any things that come up that don't make a nice, easy planning for them. So we make sure the core courses are there. We make sure that it makes sense. The deadline we gave for the group yesterday, which I'm going to talk to my committee about, because I realize it's going to be a problem. We gave December 2nd, and here's why it's going to be a problem. The committee meets on December 2nd, and it's our last meeting of the semester, so it's the last day we can look at them. Yeah, we just realized that this morning, so we're probably gonna ask for it before Thanksgiving. Since nobody wants to work over Thanksgiving weekend anyway, I think the plan will be to before Thanksgiving, we will send an official notification with that date. If you are not having anything with mapping, you're just gonna be a resource, you don't have to worry about it, just look for emails from your full-time faculty or from the OAC if we need assistance on anything. But I did notice that,
Oh,
yeah, we can't look at them if we don't have them for the committee meeting. Yeah, so, the people yesterday, I think they get all day, all holiday weekend to work. They were looking forward to working on Thanksgiving holiday, I know it.
Yes, so the mapping, and we were supposed to begin assessment for spring, right? That's the plan. We'll start assessment for spring, but the mapping process, again, it's a learning process for us, so we're still trying to work through all, how to work with all this data and, to see how we can help faculty to choose how they can streamline their assessment process. So we're kind of in a time crunch ourselves because until she mentioned that we're having a meeting on that,
Yeah, I thought I woke up this morning and panic, oh my God!
So you guys just bear with us, please, because again, we're working through this. As things are coming to us, we're trying to figure out dates and deadlines. So we just figured that out now. So please, you guys just
Be patient. Yeah. And the good news is most people do not have multiple degrees. And
No.
most people can only go with their cores, but there will be a few people. I have a feeling that Jennifer might be one of those that can't just go with their cores, because I'm guessing that Com 1 is your core and everything else is kind of this or this.
No, not a lot of that.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. You'll be lucky then.
and
I
again,
know poli-sci has 1 requirement, 2 requirements, and a whole bunch of openness. 3 requirements? Oh, so they're lucky too.
yeah, and again, if you have, mostly for your program, if you have certificates, you're lucky too, because all you're doing mostly is core. There's no electives for certificates, so that will help out a lot too. Most of them is certificates, so that's what I just have to worry about.
So we are supposed to be finishing up in the next 2 minutes, so I want to point out that we're going to send all the samples out to anyone. We're trying to send them out to people as they're coming to the meeting so they can see it right away and have that excitement, and we'll start right away. But we will also send it out again at the end 1 more time to everybody, just in case people missed it, in case we missed someone who signed in, that kind of thing, with all the deadlines. We're going to have the deadline before Thanksgiving. We're going to have review, hopefully December 2nd. We might, because we're going to have so many, we might need a day or 2 for the committee to look at it. But we hope that before the end of the semester, we get back to everybody with saying, thank you for turning it in, looks great, we had this 1 question, or here's an idea that we noticed, did you plan on assessing like this? Just kind of, since we've been talking about it so much, we feel we have a really big picture. So we just want to be guiding and just say, what was your plan? Because we saw this, what did you think? And most people would say, yeah, that's what I planned on doing. And a few people would say, I don't know what to do. Give me more guidance, and we will do that if necessary. But for the most part, it is up to the faculty to decide the plan. Anything else?
No, I think that's.
Whatever else, we will send you in an email.
Yes, and if you guys have questions, please don't hesitate. Again, just forward your questions to myself or Penny, and if we don't know, we'll find a way to get the answers to you on time. Because again, as you guys heard now, we're working, now we're racing against Thanksgiving. That's what we're racing against right
We
now.
are. Beat
Not
the
December
Thanksgiving turkey.
Thank you guys for joining us, and hopefully you guys got something good from this training. And again, if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, want to call or stay online or just stay after, we can answer questions too. But if you just go away and sign off, we'll know that you don't have questions for now. So you don't have to. Thank you.
Thank you.